A gentle female Impala, a creature born to flee from predators, did the unthinkable. She adopted a lion cub. The rangers of Makira Wildlife Reserve first spotted her one quiet morning, standing in the tall grass. Through their binoculars, they saw a graceful Impala doe bending low, her nose brushing the small, trembling body of a newborn lion cub no more than 3 days old. The cub's mother had been killed by poachers the previous night. Her lifeless body was found near the watering hole, stripped for her pelt and teeth, barely 50 meters away from where the orphan had been left crying for milk. But instead of walking away, or worse, running for her life as every instinct demanded, the Impala stepped closer. She touched the cub gently, sniffed him, then did something so unnatural it left the observers speechless. She lay down and allowed the cub to nurse. Impossible, murmured Dr. Amelia Rhodes, Makira's head veterinarian, lowering her binoculars in disbelief. She's a prey animal feeding a predator. Everything in her DNA should be screaming at her to run. But the doe, soon named Nia by the rangers, didn't run. She stayed. She let the cub drink from her milk meant for her own fawn hidden nearby. She guarded the little lion through the night, her slender body forming a living shield against the cold. And by dawn, when the rangers checked again, the cub was still alive, nestled beneath the legs of his adoptive mother. They named him Kion, meaning strength. Over the following weeks, the rangers watched in awe. Nia grazed softly with her fawn on one side and Kion on the other. The lion cub stumbled through the grass on unsteady legs, trying to mimic his adoptive siblings' leaps and bounds. The sight was so strange that it began drawing attention worldwide. Photos of the lion raised by an Impala went viral. Wildlife experts debated, skeptics dismissed it as temporary coincidence, and the reserve staff received hundreds of calls from biologists asking for updates. But Nia's behavior couldn't be explained by coincidence. She nursed Kion, groomed him with her tongue, and when the cub whimpered, she made the same soft bleating sounds she used to comfort her fawn. The bond was undeniable. Still, the rangers knew this arrangement couldn't last forever. Kion was a lion, nature's most efficient predator. Sooner or later, his instincts would awaken. Dr. Rhodes and her team prepared to separate them before tragedy struck. But Nia seemed to sense their concern. She began teaching in ways they hadn't expected. Whenever a carcass lay nearby, left behind by leopards or hyenas, she led Kion to it. She let him sniff and nibble at the meat while she and her fawn continued grazing a few meters away. She was introducing him to his true nature, but without fear, without bloodshed. She's not trying to turn him into an Impala, Dr. Rhodes observed in her journal. She's teaching him to be a lion. Gently, months passed. The cub grew quickly. His once round face sharpened into that of a young male. By 8 months, Kion was almost as tall as Nia. His paws were powerful, his eyes gold and fierce, but still filled with an unusual calmness. Many questioned the ranger's decision to let the relationship continue. "You're creating confusion," one critic wrote. "That lion will never learn how to hunt. You're building a monster who doesn't know what he is." But Dr. Rhodes disagreed. She had seen something no critic could see: discipline. When Kion played too rough with Nia's fawn, she would butt him sharply with her horns, forcing him to back off. When he tried to stalk other Impalas, she stepped between him and the herd, fixing him with an unflinching stare until he sat down in embarrassment. She was teaching him restraint, a lesson few predators ever learn. Kion began to understand the boundaries of life. He didn't hunt Nia's kind, not out of confusion, but out of recognition. Somewhere deep in his young heart, he understood. Love could be greater than hunger. It was the dry season when the test came. One afternoon, the rangers spotted a group of young male lions approaching from the north. Nomads cast out from their pride, looking to claim territory. Among them was aggression, hunger, and dominance. When they saw Kion, they recognized him instantly as a rival. To survive in the wild, young males eliminate threats before they grow stronger. Nia and her small family were grazing near a thorn tree when the males arrived. The air filled with tension. Rangers' binoculars caught the moment when Nia realized what was coming. She didn't run. She stepped forward. Her delicate frame stood between Kion and the approaching predators. She stamped her hooves, snorted loudly, and refused to move even as they circled, confused by the defiance of their usual prey. From behind her, Kion let out a sound the savannah had never heard before, a deep, thunderous roar that rolled through the grasslands and sent flocks of birds into the air. It was no longer the voice of a cub. It was the voice of a lion who had found himself. The young males froze. The roar carried power, but behind it was something else, conviction. Faced with this strange alliance, they hesitated, then turned away, retreating into the plains. Dr. Rhodes lowered her camera, speechless. She just protected him, and he protected her. That moment changed everything. The Rangers knew the time had come. Kion was growing into a full-sized male. Keeping him among Impalas would soon endanger both him and them. So they made a choice, painful but necessary. Through international wildlife programs, they contacted a nearby sanctuary, Mara Hills Reserve, where a lion pride had recently lost its dominant male. The females were struggling to defend their territory and cubs. Kion's introduction would be risky, but it was his best chance to live as he was meant to. The release was tense. As the transport gate opened, Kion stepped out cautiously, eyes scanning the wide savannah. In the distance, lionesses approached, tails flicking, muscles taut. They circled him, sniffing, curious but wary. Instead of asserting dominance, Kion lowered his head and waited. He didn't growl. He didn't charge. He simply respected their space. For weeks, he followed from a distance, never forcing his presence. When hyenas threatened the pride's cubs one evening, Kion intervened, chasing them off with fearless precision, yet without unnecessary bloodshed. That night, the lionesses allowed him to rest among them for the first time. Within 6 months, Kion had earned his place as their leader. But he ruled differently from other males. He hunted with cooperation, not violence. He shared food before eating. And in a phenomenon that baffled zoologists, his pride never hunted impalas. Even when they grazed nearby, easy prey, unaware of the danger, Kion and his pride turned their focus elsewhere. It was as if the lesson Nia had given him, the sacred boundary between love and instinct, had become law. Years passed. Kion grew into a magnificent lion, strong and majestic, his mane glinting bronze under the sun. He sired cubs of his own, clever, calm, and unusually patient hunters. Nia, meanwhile, grew old. Her muzzle silvered, her steps slowed, but she continued to lead her herd through the grasslands near Kion's territory. Whenever her herd grazed near the edge of the lion's range, Kion could be seen lying beneath an acacia tree, eyes fixed on her with quiet, understanding. Dr. Rhodes often watched those silent reunions from afar. It's like they're still connected, she wrote. Not predator and prey anymore, just mother and son. Then one morning, the Rangers found Nia lying peacefully under the same tree where Kion had once roared for her. She had passed during the night. Her herd gathered around her. That afternoon, as the sun set over Makira, Rangers across the valley heard a single, haunting roar echoing through the plains. It was Kion, standing tall at the border of his territory, mane rippling in the wind. Facing the horizon where Nia's herd grazed, it was a sound of mourning, gratitude, and love all at once. A farewell to the one who had taught him that compassion could rewrite nature's rules. Today, Dr. Amelia Rhodes still monitors Kion, now 4 years old and reigning as the dominant male of his pride. His leadership has transformed his territory into one of the most balanced ecosystems in the region. Predators and prey coexist with fewer conflicts. Researchers note that Kion rarely kills for sport. He hunts only when necessary. His eyes are different, Dr. Rhodes often says during interviews. There's awareness there, empathy. It's as if he remembers who raised him. Tourists who visit Mara Hills sometimes glimpse a lion resting among grazing animals that should, by nature, fear him. To this day, Impalas approach Kion's pride with remarkable calm. Mothers graze near his cubs. It's as though the compassion of one Impala still lives through him, and every year, during the dry season when Nia once found him, Kion returns to that acacia tree. He lies beneath it for hours, silent, gazing at the horizon. No one knows what he's thinking, but those who've seen it say it feels almost human, the quiet remembrance of love that shaped him. Nature is often described as cruel, red in tooth and claw. But every so often, it reveals something gentler, something that reminds us that empathy exists beyond our species. Nia, a creature built to run from lions, showed the courage to stop and care for one. And Kion, a predator born to rule by strength, learned to lead through mercy. Their story has become a symbol of hope for wildlife conservationists worldwide. Schools use it to teach compassion, sanctuaries use it to remind volunteers that every life has purpose. And millions of viewers have seen footage of the unlikely bond that began with one act of love that on the plaque at Makira Reserve's Visitor Center. A single quote from Dr. Rhodes captures it best. Love is nature's greatest rebellion. It's the one instinct that defies every other. And in the heart of the savannah, when the wind whispers through the tall grass and the sun bleeds gold across the horizon, some swear they can still hear the echo of that roar. The roar of a lion who never forgot the mother who taught him mercy. If this story touched you, remember this. Sometimes survival isn't about who runs fastest or fights hardest. Sometimes it's about who chooses to care when instinct says not to. Because love, real love, can make even a lion remember the kindness of an impala.